Chinny Nwagbo. And what a weekend of upsets it was, Chinny. Does it seem like the field is just wide open this year compared to years past?
Yeah, I mean, this season of March Madness has been crazy with all the upsets. I think with the men, they've had 8 lower seeds beat the higher seeds in the March Madness. So it's crazy. It's been amazing. So I'm really excited to see who's going to win the championship on both the men and the women's side.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, what teams have surprised you so far? Who do you like?
Well, I like for the men's side, I really enjoyed Kansas. I think Kansas is going to take it all the way, but we'll talk about that later, I'm sure.
Yes.
And for the women, of course, I love UConn. They've been playing really solid as a team. They've been doing everything they need to do. Gino Auriemma is amazing, as always, and I think that they'll be able to pull through and actually come up with a championship. And so there you have it.
All right, we'll get a little more in depth as the show goes on, but let's talk about Maryland. They defeated Hawaii. They seem to scare me every time they play. It's like I'm biting my nails, especially this last one, but they've pulled out the wins. They do it. It's not always pretty, but they get it done. How would you assess this Maryland team?
Wow. Well, let's talk about Layman. He's been doing an excellent job this tournament. Last season, this year, I believe he shot one shot. He was averaging one shot. Now he's in that leadership role as a senior. If he has an open look, he's taking the shot. He's really doing a good job. I believe the first game in the first round, he had about 22 points, something around those lines. So he's really confident. He's really leading his team, and he's playing very unselfishly.
Now, what is that like, as a player? You said you've really noticed his growth and development from last year.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
Just hard work. As unselfish as he is, I think he's putting in the work. He knows his role on the team, and he's not afraid this year to execute what they're asking of him. And so with him, I think it has a lot to do with hard work, knowing his role, and wanting a championship, as every team does. So, yeah, that's what I think
They're
he's doing.
hungry.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear from Devon in Temple Hills. Hey, Devon, how are you tonight? Devon?
How you doing?
Good. Do you have any?
I'm sorry. All right, how you doing? Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I'm a Kansas fan since 1988, Danny Manning years.
Yeah, Devon, we like you.
The Maryland Terrapins are actually talented enough to beat them, but Maryland has a disconnect on offense that Kansas is going to take advantage of because of I think Kansas is top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency, and I just don't think that Maryland's guards are going to be able to consistently beat Mason and Graham and Sells. See, Selden's going to give Layman his biggest problem he's had all year. He hasn't had to deal with a real wing that can penetrate and shoot the ball. Layman's not athletic enough to guard Selden. Then you have Landon Lucas and Traylor holding down the middle. They're going to make Stone and Carter uncomfortable. It's just Kansas is just a better team. And as far as the Final Four go, I have all four because I have Virginia winning the Midwest. I said I didn't think Michigan State would beat them 3 straight years, but I have Kansas beating Maryland by about 10 points. I just think Maryland has too many inconsistent moments, and they really didn't look good against 2 lower seeds. They 2 teams that they should have probably ran through. They struggled. And a call against South Dakota State saved them when they called the foul. Layman got the free throws, and it wasn't a foul. It saved them because that game was a 2-point game. If they don't make that call, Melo's gassed, and maybe South Dakota State goes down and get a basket. You just don't know. So I just think Kansas is going to take it all. I just think they've been the best team all year, and they're the most complete team from 1 through 10. That's all I wanted to say.
No, wait. Who are your other teams in the Final Four?
I have North Carolina, Virginia, and I have Oregon. No, I have
North
Oregon.
Carolina?
No one gave Oregon a chance, and Oregon got
your
tested
Final
last night
Four
by
is
St.
almost
Joe's,
the same as mine.
Unless you stayed up late at night, you don't know how good Oregon really is. And I've seen them play enough to see if they have athletes, they have shooters, they're well coached by Altman, and they're just a talented team that people don't know because they play on the West Coast late at night. So people, they overlook those West Coast teams. So like in football, where you don't see USC, you don't see Oregon. Oregon was good all them years in football. No one knew, and then they popped on the scene, but they have been doing that for years.
You got North Carolina. I feel like North Carolina is not the same North Carolina we've seen in the past. They're a good team, but I don't know if they're going to get to you think they're going to get to the Final Four?
I think so because of the size and the athleticism. I think they're going to give Indiana more trouble than Indiana's face because Indiana plays the 1-in, 4-out, and I think with the 1-in, 4-out, they're going to be able to they're going to make Thomas Bryant uncomfortable inside with Bryce Johnson, Hicks, and Meeks. That's a lot of size, a lot of girth, and I think they'll be able to get Justin Jackson will be able to get to one of the shooters, and then you can have Page guard Yogi Ferrell. I think they'll be able to contain him. Indiana will make a few threes, but they won't be able to do it enough. I believe. And Carolina can just score whenever they feel like it. Their thing is, will they be fully vested? If they're vested, no one's going to beat them. I'm a Kansas fan. But if they're vested and they want to lock down defensively, look at Carolina when they played Virginia in the ACC Championship. That was a prime example of a team that can play any style. They played a grinded-out style and beat Virginia at their own game. No one does that.
All right,
So,
Devon,
yeah.
thank you so much. We appreciate you weighing
All
in with all your basketball knowledge. What do you think are the keys for Maryland getting past Kansas?
Oh.
You're high on Kansas, so, put that aside for a second.
Devon was pretty much on point. Last game, I think Maryland missed their first 15 threes.
Yeah.
Kansas is holding people to about 40.
1 for
52.
18 from three-point range.
Yeah, and Kansas is holding people to about 52 points per game. They're the #1 defensive team. So I don't know. I think Maryland's going to have a really tough time scoring against Kansas. Kansas is a good, solid team. They score offensively. They do what they have to do defensively. And, of course, we all know defense wins games.
Yes.
So I just think Kansas is going to come out on top.
All right. More to come on this edition of Toyota Sports Talk. We're here with former Duval star Chinny Nwagbo talking NCAA tournament. We're talking about Maryland. We're talking about Virginia. And then we're going to get into the women's tournament as well. Fortunately, Maryland just lost to the Washington Huskies. And here's our questions of the night. Do you think the Terps can beat the top overall seed in Kansas? Secondly, be honest. Come on. What does your Final Four look like? How many teams did you pick are still alive in your Final Four? And especially after that Michigan State upset, I think a lot of people had that. Give us a call, 703-387-1020. We're back right after this.
How does Sweet 16 sound right now?
Sweet. So, I mean, I don't mean to be cliche, but, this is amazing. It's an exciting feeling.
73% in the second half, I think. I don't know if you guys have had a better half this year.
Yeah, we took good shots getting into the paint. Malcolm was getting into the paint. Harry was shooting the ball extremely well. I don't think we shot the ball. We didn't shoot the ball as good as we did as we can from the outside. But we exploited the inside matchups. AG getting some easy looks and Mariel playing well. Everybody got into the lane and finished pretty well. But once we get our shots going, I feel like we'll be good.
That was our own Big Shot Bob interviewing some of the Virginia players. UVA on to the Sweet 16. News Channel 8 has you covered for all of your local NCAA coverage. Robert Burton, he's going to be traveling with Virginia to Chicago. That's his hometown, so I know he's not mad about that trip. As the Cavs take on Iowa State, that's on Friday. And then Scott Abraham will be with Maryland in Louisville when the Terps face top seed Kansas on Thursday. I cannot wait for Thursday and Friday. Welcome back to Toyota Sports Talk. I'm here with Chinny Nwagbo. Do you think the Terps can beat Kansas? That's one of the questions that we're asking tonight. Let's talk a little bit more about Maryland before we get to Virginia. What do you think about Melo Trimble and his offense?
He is amazing. He is the heart and soul of the Maryland offense. He plays with such poise. One of the things that I really enjoy about him is that he finishes. He gets to the basket hard and he finishes the shots. He has a really good selection. He's able to see his team, see who's out. He's just, for me, a phenomenal player for Maryland and exactly what they need right now.
How do you think he'll do in the NBA?
I think he'll do well.
You think he's ready?
He's undersized. I think that if he continues to work on his game, he'll have some potential of being a pretty good player over some years.
Can you compare him to a player in the NBA now?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think he's a little bit special. I like his. He kind of has an overall game. He gets everybody involved. I don't know who I would compare him to. You have
Maybe there isn't anyone.
Oh, okay. He's a good player. He's
All right,
a very,
talk
very
to me
good player.
about Robert Carter. He's sort of overlooked, but he's doing what the team needs him to do.
Robert Carter, I like him. He's like the garbage man. He gets the rebounds where he needs to get the rebounds. He gets the easy points just from the putbacks. He's averaging about 10 rebounds per game, and he just does what the team needs of him. He knows his role and goes out every night and does exactly what they're asking of him. He's also one of those players that will change people's shots. So Robert, he's really good, and I like how he is defensively. He adds a lot to the game defensively. So he's unspoken, but he's doing exactly what they need.
Let's get to some more calls. Maurice in Norfolk. Hey, Maurice, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking my call this evening.
You're welcome. What do you got on our questions of the night? Do you think that Maryland will beat Kansas? Who do you have in your Final Four?
I have in my Final Four. I have North Carolina, Oklahoma,
Oklahoma.
Kansas, and I had Michigan State until they took the nosedive to Middle Tennessee. So, of course, that blew my bracket up to smithereens. So now I'm just watching great basketball. Even though I did pick Kansas, I definitely think the Terps have the capability of beating Kansas. I think that it's really about what kind of game you play that night, and I think it's going to be incumbent on the coaching staff to come up with a game plan that can slow Kansas down. I think Melo Trimble could definitely be a playmaker that could cause some matchup problems for the Jayhawks against Maryland. And I think if Maryland can play some really good defense, slow them down, get them frustrated, and keep the game close going into the final minutes, they can give themselves a chance.
Hey, Maurice, if the Terps lose, do you think this will be a disappointing season for them?
No, absolutely not. I think that when you make it to the Sweet 16, I mean, that's really, once you get to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final Four, I think any team that makes it to that level, they've had a successful season. At the end of the day, there's only going to be one team that's going to hold the title. So you got to look at other victories. And I think making it to the Sweet 16, I think I was kind of skeptical of Maryland making it to the Sweet 16, but they did. So I think that they're starting to get their groove back as the tournament progresses. I mean, if people remember correctly, Maryland was definitely one of the top teams early in the season.
Yeah, they were. I think they were two at one point.
To that type of form going into the game against Kansas, they have the capability to beat Kansas. And if they frustrate Kansas and challenge Kansas, because Kansas really hasn't been tested yet, and, they say survive and move on. So if Maryland can give them a tough game and get them frustrated, take them outside of their game plan, they give themselves a great chance to win that matchup.
All right, Maurice, thank you so much. It was so nice to hear from you tonight.
Thank you.
All right, let's switch gears now and talk about Virginia. Nowhere else to start than the beast, Malcolm Brogdon. There's a lot to like about this guy.
He's a phenomenal player, ACC Player of the Year, also on the honor roll. So not only is he a great player, he's on the honor roll.
Look at you doing your homework.
No, this guy is great. 6'5", big body, can score, can put the team on his back and get it done. I like him a lot.
As my producer said, he looks like he's 45. That wasn't nice. All right, how would you assess the job that Tony Bennett has done with this squad?
Tony Bennett is a phenomenal coach. This is his 7th year, I believe, with Virginia, and he's been named ACC Coach of the Year by his friends and media. He's known as the defensive coach. He is also good with defense, just somewhat similar to Kansas. He's held opponents also to 51.5 points, and he knows how to distribute players' roles, and they know how to respond. So he puts players in a good position. So I like him. I like his energy. I like what he's doing with Virginia, and I think they have a pretty good shot at getting to the final.
All right, well, they have Iowa State up next.
Yeah.
What do you think about this matchup, Chinny?
Virginia's doing a pretty good job. I think Virginia's going to beat them easily.
Okay.
That's my opinion on Iowa.
Okay.
So.
All right. Are we going to take a call? Tom? No? Okay. Well, we'll keep on talking Virginia. Sorry, I thought we had a call there. What else do you like about them? Why do you think that they're going to go to the final?
Okay, so about this matchup against Iowa that we just spoke about, I know Iowa's having a really hard time scoring. If Iowa has a hard time scoring against Virginia, they're going to be automatically out. I think Virginia's going to do a good job. They know exactly what they need. Every single game they make the adjustment, and I think that with Brogdon being the main scorer, he's going to be able to help. I just like him. It's kind of like a feel thing. I think they're going to do a really good job. Again, I think Kansas is going to win, but that's my opinion. So Virginia's going to go pretty far.
So then tell us who you have in your Final Four.
Well, I'm from Syracuse, so I'm going to put Syracuse all the way. But, okay, to be realistic, I do have Kansas. I do have Duke. I did say it was between – I don't know if North Carolina is going to beat Indiana. Maybe they will.
It's a tough call for you?
It's a tough call, yeah.
Why do you think that?
I just, like I said before, North Carolina is not the same North Carolina we've seen in the past.
So you don't fully trust them?
Yeah, they're not really having, their rhythm could be better. Let's say that. Their rhythm could be better.
Okay.
So Indiana does have a chance of winning that game. So we'll see how that goes. And, of course, I had to put Syracuse in there with Virginia. So
hey, well, if they do
Orange.
it, I'll remember that you made the call here.
Yeah, exactly.
More to come on Toyota Sports Talk. We'll break down the women's tournament next in a bad night in College Park. Hug a Terps fan if you see one.
That was good.
Welcome back. Maryland women looking to advance to their third straight